Content disclaimer. The views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
This is King Simon. Remember, make sure you go to my website, kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com, or Linktree at King Simon the Numerovator. Get all 4 of my books, and of course, that's the Numerovation for Mental Stability. Numbers are simple, people are complicated. Numbers are simple, children's health is important, and no promotion is bad promotion. Just spell my name right. Make sure you get them now on all my links. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. Go now.
Eye to eye, heart to heart, each one teach one, us. This is Professor Imhotep, the Island Monk, here at Warrior Kidi Jitsu, Way of the Warrior Spirit. So we're here to go over the rules and try to make that as swift as possible for you guys. So the rules essentially are very few. Number 1 is to follow us on TikTok at the Island Monk, or if you have Instagram, you can follow us at Warrior Temple, Island University. Or if you really love us and want to show us support, you can follow us at both. You're going to find the Kata Shodachi, and you're either going to duet us on TikTok or collab with us on Instagram and win 10 tickets for every additional video you do beyond. So as we say with all the warriors, eye to eye, heart to heart, each one teach one, us.
Hey, this is King Simon, the International Numerovator. Remember, get all my books on Amazon or go to Linktree/King Simon the Numerovator. And remember, don't forget to book my sessions at 347-496-1022. Book now. So remember, our job as studiers of these metaphysical, esoteric knowledge is to help enhance people to be better. I, as a numerovator, using the numbers, or quote-unquote numerals, and motivation to get people to understand why they need to activate their numbers to be their very best self and maximize it. Because
The numerals hold a frequency. And if you're willing to turn up that frequency, then that frequency can help to guide you and navigate you to a higher height that will allow you to spiral to be your best self. We must remember that. First and foremost, what's up, family? Your brother King Simon is in the beautiful building, of course, right here on this beautiful universe. I call it the mathematical universe. Every scientist, every physicist have said that the grand book of the universe is mathematics, and everybody like to say numbers don't lie. So, hey, I always like to say, yo, when it comes to numbers pertaining to people on this planet, whether you believe it's flat or round, numbers don't lie with us either. So don't you forget it. So I be having fun when I do this because I study. I got books by Tesla. I've got books by Einstein. I like to study and research. And the brother that I'm about to bring on is also a researcher at a high degree that I've had the privilege of knowing for probably since the early 90s, City College, through UAM, through Sons of Africa, through ASCAC, and going to their conferences. I think I've been there about 2-3 times, watching people like Dr. Ben, Dr. Clarke, and all the greats, Barashango, and all the great ones that have done it. And actually, you know, and first and foremost, family, I want to make sure everybody like, subscribe, comment, and share, because the brother, I usually see him on either HOK and different other platforms, but today is not about the debate, which debates are good because debate in the dictionary means a conversation, really. But this brother, we're going to go down a little bit about his history, about who he is, and showing respect to a brother that have been doing it behind the scenes. He was never really in front of everything, but he always was able to manage certain events for the Dr. Bens and the Clarks. And I always respect that because I always watched him from the back, because I'm a person that was that's a producer and a promoter. And I watched how he worked over the years. And I said to myself, bro, I need to bring on brother Reggie. So, you know, and although I never really officially brought him in as a lecturer, I do respect his study and his research. And like I said, one of the topics for today, which was a quote from the Honorable Malcolm X. Some say it's from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but it's really being quoted by Malcolm X. It says, history is best qualified to reward our research. This is what was said, but it goes on to say, of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. And when you see that you've got problems, all you have to do is examine the historic method used all over the world by others who have problems similar to yours. And once you see how they got theirs straight, then you know how you can get yours straight. So that's what Malcolm X, they said, and give that quote to Malcolm. So I got to give that honor. That's all online. So I got to give that. And that's why the topic is history is best qualified to reward our research, because this brother take you on tours through museums to show you your history. He's a historian who studied on the Raketi Amen and different other people. Of course, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clarke, and of course, Professor Jeffries and all the great ones. And we can't forget that. And also big up to Dr. Jeffries. He just celebrated his birthday. So enough respect to him. And we lost some greats. Of course, Viola Plummer and different others. We're going to talk about that. So, and of course, we had Professor Smalls talk about Seiko and Dinga. So we want to make sure we bring on Brother Reggie with a well-deserved round of applause as we welcome for the first time on my platform, the one, the only Brother Reggie. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing fine as we do in this wilderness, and it's cold in New York, and I'm pretty sure you're happy that you left. Wherever you are, it's chilly, but it's cold in New York. King Simon, thanks for bringing me on and not forgetting about me. As I've watched your shows, and you brought many people in, but there's particular voices that haven't been on, and I'm glad that you opened up the closet and brought me out.
Well, Brother Reggie, it's always an honor to see you every time I see you personally. And, I went to your first debate that you ever did in as far as at the National Black Theater. At first, I don't know if you was doing it before that, like in City College and all that, but that one I went to, and I remember, just being in the midst of everybody and watching everybody, how they go around doing what they do.
Did you see the dynamics of that debate?
Yes, I did see the dynamics of that debate.
It was you can hear a rat pissing on cotton.
and what's so funny is I've seen your development over years. I've been watching and paying attention, and how that was initiated and how that was handled. And I tell people, I have no problems with debate, because I was with Dr. Khalid when he has done a few of his debates while I was in the Nation of Islam. But I remember him saying personally that debate allows us to open up to learn and be able to go research and go study, so we can get a better understanding of what we're debating about, what the subject matter is and all that. So, Doc believed in that, and I understood that. He was debating since he was in the Nation of Islam back in the day. So when I was in the Nation from late 80s until 95, 96, I understood that while I was, and I can respect that. So big up to HOK, of course, Sonetta and the whole crew over there and the whole family. That's my family. Although he's at battle with people like Garfield, big up to Garfield, because he's an old friend of mine for many years and from the Nation back in the day. So, and I called both of them to try to resolve it, and they know that. They know me. I'm going to call it behind scenes. I'm one of them people that call you behind scenes, grown men stuff, because that's what we was taught as grown men, to call each other behind the scenes and see what's up, and just make sure everybody's all right and nobody's coming to the point. Because, in the hip hop world, they get into all kinds of other things. And you're a big part of the hip hop world, because you grew up in the Bronx and all this. So you've been a part of a lot of worlds. And I got to get that a round of applause. Got to get that a round of applause that a lot of people don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, Reggie, I'm honored to have you here. And there's no, there was no closet I had to look into. It's just the right time, right moment. Everything is with Pat and
when I get old, right?
when we become vintage, that's when you're supposed to serve the wines. You pour it out. So, my brother, first and foremost, where do I start? I want to start with you and what compelled you from a young person to get into studying history. Was your parents into history? Did you come from a background of people that always told you to study history or get into education? What was that like with your mom and dad, my brother?
I was born in Newport News, Virginia in 1965 in a segregated South. Born in a segregated hospital, Whitaker Memorial Hospital in Newport News, Virginia. My parents were hardworking. My father was a part-time sharecropper with his sisters and his parents. He came out of North Carolina. My mother was from Virginia. They migrated from North Carolina because it was hot and it was racist, and they went to Virginia for a better life. My grandfather found himself, he ultimately bought a house on one of the first Black families on 833 29th Street in Newport News, Virginia. And it was tough for them because they were the only Black family on a white street. I grew up with my head and my to the age of 5 with my hands in my pocket, right? Looking at my feet, because in Virginia, you don't talk to white folks, right? When you're a kid, your parents talk for you. You don't go into a store and look around like these kids do, and you pick up things and you keep your hands in your pocket. Most of the store owners were white folks, and Black folks had businesses on trucks. So they would bring the watermelons, they would bring the greens, the corn, the hog, right? The salt pork, right? They would bring it on the street and you would shop with them. But Black folks made a living. They were proud. They went to Black schools. So my father, when I started getting into Black studies, he says, he looked at himself. That's all he knew, right? Growing up, right, with Black teachers. He didn't understand that I never seen a Black teacher, right? And so ultimately, when I went to City College. I went to City College for engineering.
Right.
I ended up first in electrical engineering, and then I moved to computer science. I was one of the a few Black students that actually graduated with an engineering degree from the School of Engineering and Computer Science in 1988. But how I got involved in this is simply the Black students were doing horrible in their classes.
Right.
And we was lacking self-esteem. Excuse me.
You all right? Yeah.
Yeah, the cough is my fault.
Right. Yes, all right. Go ahead.
The cough is my fault. It's a bad habit.
Right. Right.
So ultimately, I needed some free classes, some additional classes to fill the books, and I took Professor Edward Scobie.
Edward Scobie. Big up to the late ancestor. Yes, from out of Dominica, right?
Dominica, right? So he was a Royal Air Force bomber pilot. Yes. He wrote the book Black Britannica.
Yes.
And he was from the Caribbean, as you say, Dominica.
Yes.
And he led the party that elected the Eugenia, I forgot her name, Eugenia something, the president of Dominica.
But because I used to work with Rosie Douglas's son, who was once the president of Dominica. So in Canada when I was living in Montreal. So yeah.
Shout out to Dominica.
Yeah, shout out to Dominica, man.
Right. We don't hear too much about them, but they were an island of freedom fighters, and he found himself in Europe, and found himself in the Royal Air Force as a bomber. Could you believe that? A Black man, but he was very light.
Yeah, right. I remember. Yeah, so that was your introduction through him, Brother Edward Scobie, you're saying?
Yes.
And what was some of the fantastic? Give me a moment with Mr. Scobie, because I never got to meet him, but he was very intriguing when I watched him on DVDs or VHSs, because I've got videos because I loved his language. And when he said he was from Dominica, because my family's from Jamaica and Cuba, I said, oh man, I love what he was saying and how he said. Give us a moment with you and him, and what was some of the main things that you learned from our brother?
Yeah, he was the first professor that talked about for us Blacks in the Caribbean and slavery, and particularly the tone of Caribbeans in the plantations, and particularly the Haitian Revolution.
Yes,
he was an expert on the Haitian Revolution, and it was there where I heard probably for the first time a scholar talking, giving legitimacy to cutting off the heads of white people and burning their plantations for freedom.
Yes.
And so if you think that Dr. Leonard Jeffries was fiery, or Dr. Clarke, right, fiery, you could see it in and Edward Scobie looked light. He had white hair. He looked white, but he made no bones about that he was an African, that he was Black, and he was down with the revolution. And Professor Edward Scobie, another moment, besides talking about the Haitian Revolution, Professor Edward Scobie said, make no bones about it. I have killed more white people than anyone that you know of. He was a bomber pilot. So he dropped bombs on Germany during World War II.
Wow. Give that a round of applause. Got to give our warriors a round of applause. Like, that's what we come out of, warriors. I love it. Yes. Wow.
Yeah. So that was my introduction, and then that made me take Dr. Leonard Jeffries' class. Dr. Leonard Jeffries was coming back from South Africa, and he did the study on Southern Africa. Okay, and I took his class, which was an advanced class, Black Roots Seminary, and that is where I began to learn about myself. The first, after the introduction and stuff, the first assignment that we had, which was the whole assignment after he talked about slavery and African people, because he's an expert on Africa. He had been to Africa more than 40 times at that point, right? And this is 80, this is 83, 84, right? But he said, yeah, we get to that. But the first thing I need you to do is I need you to go to the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture at the New York Public Library, and I need you to find your grandparents, your great grandparents, and your great grandparents in the census records. And if you don't come back, right, you're going to get an F. And if they're not American, meaning you was born in the Caribbean or elsewhere, you had better have some interviews with your grandparents and your great, right?
And because of that, I went and interviewed my grandfather. He was 98 years of age. No, when I interviewed him, he was around 89, 90, because he transitioned at 100. And Reg, I did not know, because my mother didn't tell me, because I guess they wasn't talking. You know how sometimes in the Caribbean, if you're supposed to be heard, you're not supposed to speak. So my mother didn't get that history. He was my grandfather was a friend of Marcus Garvey, and was part of the UNIA in Jamaica, and tried to help him get out of the prison over there. Because where my family is from is in Spanish Town, and the prison where Marcus Garvey was held was that. So he even sang the song at 90 years old, sang the song for me, the song that they were singing outside of the prison to try to get Garvey out. There was a song that they used, and he sang the song at an old age. And I was like, I recorded a few times, and I'm still looking for one more recording. That's the one I wanted to hear his singing, but I did not. He died, and he transitioned at 103 about 15 years ago.
And that's what makes us. That's where we find ourselves, and that's the launch pad to everything else. And then I was able to talk to my great grandmother, Flora Gilchrist, and my other great grandmother. I had found that I walked with her before she passed, and they told me a funny story how I was the firstborn of my father. He was a favorite in the family. Favorite not because everybody liked him, because he was a rascal. He got into trouble. And anyway, she took me for a walk at her old age, and she was almost senile, and we both got lost, and they had to find us, right? But so those precious moments, knowing that I had interactions with my great grandmother on my father's side, never met my great grandfather on my father's side, met my great grandparents on my mother's side, right? And so that's where the journey begins. So now I understand. Now I could understand roots better, right? Alex Haley's roots better. And then I can understand when Dr. Leonard Jeffries told me that it was him that created the Kente Project in San Jose University, and that they brought in Alex Haley before he was the great grandson of Kunta Kinte. So it seems that Alex Haley, Kente was how can I say, convenient, right? But it was a research project that was around the series called Roots, right? So Roots comes on later. Dr. Jeffries was a part of Roots and stuff like that. Then they fired him. So I get this experience. Now, I came from the projects, Castle Hill projects. Shout out to Castle Hill, never ran.
Castle Hill, big up to Castle Hill. What's up, Castle Hill?
Yeah, one of the homes of sex, money, and murder.
Yes.
And many of the members of that organization I grew up with. I was, believe it or not, they're some of their big brothers, right? Yes. I was their big brother to them. Yes. And I was involved in the Manu in an interesting way. In an interesting way. I don't think I want to go into that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, but how can I say? By the age of 16, I could say by the age of 16, I had tried every drug that was available, because my projects was a testing ground for drugs. So it was like a rites of passage every Friday night. The big homies would come through, and they would give us stuff, and we sit down, because they was just trying to figure out what we liked, what they could sell, right?
Right.
And we tried everything, locker room, hash, right? Heroin, cocaine, right? Weed. And then they figured out that cocaine was something special that they could sell. And that led ultimately to what you call sex, money, and murder, which came a few years later. But by the age of 16 to 20, I was wild.
Yeah.
When I finally got to City College, it was great because at 17, I had a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and his father used to cop in Washington Heights. And when I went to City College, I said, wow, this is right down the street. I'm home, right? Because we used to go and cop for him. And then, of course, by doing that, I ended up bringing, how can I say, something back to the projects that I shouldn't have brought back.
Right.
And, in a quality that they had never seen. Like, the stuff that was on the streets was stepped on. I'm talking about the cocaine. It was stepped on. By the time it got to my projects, it had been stepped on 2-3 times. I went and I got the raw, right? I got the raw. And here it is, like you hear the story of Alpo and AZ. Well, unfortunately, I connected some people in my projects to the plug as I was just using it as recreational, right? But I'm going to get off of this.
No, it's all right. That's history. That's history.
But I caused, by doing that, a neighbor across the street, childhood friend, he was coming up in that game. And another friend, we had introduced him to the plug, and then they was copping, and then that launched something else and something else. And then he became a real big cat, sending people as mules down to other places, North Carolina, and got better connections, right? But initially, I was just too smart for my britches. I was too smart, but what happened was, and I was still doing this when I first entered college, and then I met Professor Scobie, and I got a sense of something is wrong, right? And then I took other Black Studies courses along with Scobie until I got to Leonard Jeffries. And like Dr. Leonard Jeffries sees this lanky dude come in his class, right? 95 pounds soaking wet with Lee jeans with a permanent crease, right? With a tango, right? with gazelles on, right? Whatever. And I'm sitting in his Black Studies class, and he's dressed up as an African all day, every day. And he looked at me, and he made me. He said, "Listen, I don't think you're in the wrong class." And he says, "I said, no, I'm in the right class." And he says, he asked me about the American Revolution. Fine. Then he says, "Okay, tell me about the Black American Revolution." Yeah, I said, "Yeah, I know Lord Dunmore. I know the Ethiopian regiments, right? I know Crispus Attucks. I know all of that." And he says, "Okay, fine. Okay, you're getting somewhere. Okay, can you tell me who in your family was around the American Revolution?" And then I was like, okay. He says, "So your grade is slipping." So he says, "So can you tell me during the Civil War, do you know any of your family?" My grade was slipping. He says, "All right, so you're at C now. You're bordering. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and then if you don't get yourself to the Schomburg, you're gonna get an F, right?" Got myself to the Schomburg, and then I met Professor Small during that year. I met Dr. Jeffries' lieutenant, right? That was his right hand man. Coming from working with Malcolm's family, Ella Collins, and participate. He had left Islam maybe about 2-3 years earlier, right? When I met him, and so he still had some of that Islamic thinking. He was a very radical person. And shout out to that whole generation. And we're losing people like you talked about, Sekou Odinga.
Yeah.
We just lost Viola Plummer.
Plummer.
That's an enormous loss,
Yes.
right? And there's all these others, Coltrane, Shimaranga, but we lost Clemson Brown.
That's right.
We lost, we started earlier when we started losing Alambe Braff, and and then his brother Kwame passed, and that was our gateway to Africa. But nevertheless, my first activity was when the Ntufo Pakawari II, the king of the Ashantis, came to the Brooklyn Museum, and they were going to have a grand durbar. They chose Dr. Jeffries to have a grand durbar, Ashanti durbar, in the South Campus. So he asked us if we wanted to work for it. It was on a Saturday or Sunday, and this is the first time I seen Africans in their traditional beauty with so much gold. I mean, you could have you talk about a treasure chest, right? I saw the beauty of Africa for the first time. Right. And I started working with Dr. Leonard Jeffries.
Yes.
Started working with him, and then they started farming us out to other scholars. They farmed us out to Dr. John Henry Clarke.
Yeah.
And they farmed us out to Dr. Ben. So we get to work with them at this period in the early 80s, right? When Dr. John Henry Clarke can see.
Yes.
Right. And then we get introduced to all these other scholars, because then we had a ASCAC conference, Association of Study Classical African Civilization.
Right.
All right. So now I make a choice to leave the street. But we're working like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And Dr. Leonard Jeffries, I'm the only one left. He's driving me home. Now you have Professor Mo on.
Yes.
Mahalio Shapathia.
Right.
We created a brothership, and Mahalio was the origin of what we call the Sons of Africa.
Yes.
And he recruited me, and so we were a guard. So we were a thought experiment. We were a thought experiment of academia, Blacks in academia, right? How to now engage this movement that we're in with young people who can actually think, right? Who actually know Black studies, who just don't want to put on a clothing, right? And shout Black power, free land. We want some educated gardening. So, so I cut my teeth into Black studies as I did computer science. I graduated with a degree in computer science, and I also won the department's honor award in Black studies. So I hold the 1988 Departmental Honors Award in Black studies. So I was doing okay, doing fine. In now, but the thing about Black studies is that they put us in the Black Revolution.
Yes.
And I mean, they put us in the streets. So and they put us on the continent of Africa. So 1986, I'm boarding the plane with Dr. John Henry Clarke,
yes,
Dr. Leonard Jeffries,
right,
and the children of them, John Henry Clarke's son, Sonny Clarke, yes, and Brother Small's son, Malik Small, and Dr. Jeffries' youngest nephew, Hassan. So I had two jobs to be their escort, right? Be their escort, meaning Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Clarke's escort, because they had the money, right? And then to make sure that those children come back also, right? Because going to Africa in '86 was not fun. The roads was roads were dirt roads.
Right.
They were selling bush meat. I don't know if you know what bush meat is.
Yeah, I heard of bush meat.
The public don't know what bush meat is.
Yeah, what is bush meat from you in Africa?
Big rodents, rats on a stick, barbecue, right?
Yeah.
And so Ghana was at a very, very, we went to Ghana, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. Ghana was a very, very, it was approaching modernization. Kwame Nkrumah did a good job. Colonel Rollins did a good job, but it was still very traditional. So I get to see, I'm still living in the projects at this time. I get to see traditional Africa. I've seen the Durbar.
Right.
Now I go into the traditional environment, right? Everybody is almost blue, black, right? And I am brown, right? Light skin. And the kids had a song for me. Abruni Bono means white man. So they call me white man.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Bruni Bono, Abruni, right? And they had the song Abruni, come and give us your money, right? And so I went to a village and I was surrounded by 60 young Africans, right? Because they travel in clans and groups. They don't go anywhere by themselves. And they started rubbing my skin, and I'm telling them I'm black. And they said, no, you Bruni, you white man, you white man. Now, listen, I have been in the streets.
Wow.
I've done some things in the streets that I am not proud of.
Proud of,
right?
Of course. Right.
They made me tear. I realized that I was African, but a different type of African. And I couldn't explain to them how I got there.
Right.
But I knew enough to understand, because we had visited the slave forts and dungeons, the doors of no return of Elmina Castle, Cape Coast Castle, right? Yeah. I understood it, and that I'm African, but I'm a son of Africa, child of Africa, as we all are. And we have forgotten. But at the same time, they were responsible for us being here. And they have all of this land, right? And they allow the Europeans to have the best land, the best things, right? And many of them still to this day partner with the Europeans and don't partner with us. I have a political science background, learning from Dr. Leonard Jeffries. You have to marriage all of that. I'll show you one picture.
Okay.
I'll show you one picture as we do this.
Okay. Hey, you know, but people that are just tuning in, we are here with Brother Reggie. Reggie, are you a doctor? Because people like to call you Dr. Reggie. Are you a doctor yet, or did you get your doctor?
I have a bachelor's in computer science. I have a honors award in Black Studies.
Right. So I think people are calling you that because of your research and your studies.
Oh, yeah. That's why they call me.
So I still respect somebody who's on IG, because we're broadcasting on IG, Twitter, we're broadcasting on YouTube, and we're broadcasting on Facebook. I'm broadcasting on multiple.
But my thing with that is that my community calls me Dr. Reggie, right? But I call myself Brother Reggie. Okay. Right? Okay. So nevertheless, show my picture.
All right, so as soon as it come up, okay, I see it. Hold on a second. People, before I bring it up, family, please support our brother Reggie and what he does and how he does things. Remember his PayPal, you can actually use the email rapmarketing@hotmail.com. Friends and families, make sure you send it friends and family. Also, you got a Cash App, Reginald Mabry, right? Mabry. Yes, Mabry.
Okay, so the picture's not clear. So what happened?
The picture's not clear?
Yeah, well, what I see on the screen is like screens and screens and screens.
That's your side. That's not my side. So I don't know what's going on. You might have to just.
Okay, so stop sharing it.
I'll stop sharing it until you're ready. Yeah. Do it again if you could, because you're actually showing the desktop.
Yeah, I'm showing. So I do this 100 times, but I do it from the other side. So let's just try it again.
Yes.
Screen. So I think this one will work. Okay, great. Okay, so great.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I see it now. Yes, sir. Here it comes. All right. This is you back in the day.
Okay. So this is the time period. This is now 86, right? So 86, I'm on my way to West Africa, but we're having an ASCAC conference in, I think, February or March. I'm on my way to ASCAC to West Africa with Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Clarke, right? We are talking with Dr. Sheka Anta Diop, right? and we are supposed to meet him. He dies in, I think, March, April, something like that. So he dies. Our trip is totally messed up because the whole thing was to go and meet him at the and meet Dr. Diop.
Of course.
These are my mentors.
Of course.
This is all these pictures right here is in 1986.
Dr. Ben, go ahead.
Dr. Jacob Carruthers. At the time,
this is
Raketti Wimby at the time.
Raketti Amen, yes.
Dr. Raketti Amen, right?
Yes.
This is me and one of the brothers of the Sons of Africa, Brother Patrick.
Yes.
And these is, of course, Brother Small, Dr. Jeffries. This is me at the Schomburg. After I left City College, I worked for the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture for 5 years, right? Around that time, Dr. Clarke here is, on this day, he asked for me to be his escort as he met Bishop Tutu, right? Bishop Tutu was coming. So here is my grandfather, extended grandfather, Dr. John Clarke.
I see you with Dr. Khaled, and I see you with Dr. Khaled and Brother Barry Crumley next to you. I know who he is very well. I know all of you.
Right? You see the people behind the people, right?
Exactly. Barry right next to Khaled. You're on that side.
You see the cold-bloodedness of it, right? You know what it is, right?
Yes,
so,
sir, I do.
Here we are, Malcolm's resting place before Sister Betty passed away, and I'm just talking to Dr. Khaled Muhammad about what we do here, right? Because I am a organizer under Professor James Small for the pilgrimage to Malcolm X's grave at Ferncliff Cemetery, and I've been doing that since 1987.
Isn't it interesting? Dr. Khaled is buried in that same cemetery. Not too far. We went and visited him when I was up there. We went and visited him up there, and Malik Shabazz, the grandson, also. So
and his daughter. And his daughter.
Wow.
Right, and so many other greats or there at that cemetery. But so here is me with Dr. Khaled Muhammad in a way that most people are not. Most people don't get that close. Right? Don't have a conversation. He's always teaching and you're listening.
Right.
That's not the world that I actually lived in with them. We were boots on the ground. And so that's just what we were. So if you
he respected you, as I recall. He did respect you a lot. He did.
Well, I mean,
I brought him to Montreal, Canada back in the day. So I used to bring him to Canada back in that. We got banned from Canada. Matter of fact.
Right. So my brothers was with him when he made the King College speech.
Yes,
right with the attacks of Dr. Leonard Jeffries. And so I'll just move on. I'll just show you a couple more pictures while this is up, because I don't think this disturbs anything. Okay, so I'm on the front page of DC Comics.
What? Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, I'm on the front page of DC Comics. In defense of free speech. When Dr. Leonard Jeffries was speaking, when he was in this controversy later in 91, because I went to Egypt in 87, but in 91, he made this speech, right? And this speech, this is at the same time Khalid Muhammad is making this speech at King College, right? Shortly after that, right? And he created this huge so-called anti-Semitic issue, right? Where Dr. Jeffrey said rich Jews were involved in the slave trade, not all Jews, but rich Jews, and was trying to tell the story of Africa. Anyway, I took a team to Harvard. We got locked out. I was able to get into Harvard. I was able to negotiate with the students and the staff, right? One of the important things is one of the students that organized them. One of the students that organized it is now the Supreme Court Justice. She is the Black Supreme Court Justice. I've seen them. I didn't interact directly with all of them, but I may have. I didn't think that she was important at the time, right? So so anyway, we negotiated with the college, Dr. Leonard, that we are allowed, but there was an angry mob outside, and we was about a team of about four or five people, and we dressed casual so we could fit in. We dressed as students. We didn't do boots like we suited and booted like or bow ties like you, which was suited and booted. What we did was we dressed casually so we could fit in. We always did that, right?
Of course.
And so that was our team. So ultimately, we this group, this angry mob, started approaching the others that were locked outside. Where I was negotiating inside, and we got inside, and one of the people that we was with, he credited me because he knew that we had saved their lives, right? By getting in, because they were there with bats and they were there with whatever, and they was really hunting for Dr. Jeffries, but they're taking everything else in between, and we were identified. So when I'm saying you find yourself in the streets, but in the movement, you find yourself in the boots of the ground.
That's right.
And you find yourself, and how can I say, when Dr. Khalid Muhammad went to Malcolm's cemetery to pay respect, he had been the only Nation of Islam person that we knew publicly, right, who was still that close, that allowed. And so that was a big thing. There was also Malcolm X's secretary, Brother Gittins. I don't know if you know him.
I heard his name. No, I don't know him, but
he had been Malcolm X's secretary, and but he had come. But these were people who were kind of disconnected from the noise. Well, Khalid was right in the noise.
Of course, he created the noise.
Kind of, they was cool.
Right.
They was cool. Earlier, I neglected. I did go to Egypt with Dr. Ben. Right. I had learned the meta nature from Dr. Kidi, but I went and I took 120 people. I took 120 people in 1987 before all of these groups that now are making so much money on taking people to Egypt. Or the trip that we took to West Africa was virtually just affordable. The trip that we went to Egypt, the association embodied it, and it was still very affordable. So I was on a 10-day tour. I was an officer of ASCAC, and I had proven my work. I had been a sergeant of arms. I had proven my work. There was no officers on that 10-day tour, so they assigned me to be in charge of 120 people. We get to Jordan. In Egypt, we get to Jordan, and I get arrested. I get detained.
Wow.
Because when I came off the plane, all of our people were lined up with machine guns, right? And by soldiers, and they wanted to know who was the leader of the group, who had the entry papers. So of course, Black women as they are, during orientation, they didn't want to listen to me. They just want to go on their trip. You know how our sisters are, right? They paid this money. They going to Egypt and stuff like that. This dude cannot be the leader. Somebody else got to be the leader. But when they was under those machine guns,
you became the leader.
They squealed on me. And I'm talking about these sisters from Detroit, Georgia. I'm talking well-to-do sisters. They squealed on my ass, right?
You became the leader, sir.
Next thing I know, Brother Simon, now I'm used to dealing with police,
right?
And how can I say armed? How can I say soldiers in the United States? It's different when you go overseas. Overseas, totally you don't have those rights.
Yes.
So I immediately look. Machine guns is on me. I get escorted, and they don't play. They're not casual, right? They're like, okay, the machine gun is already pointed at you. Talk, now walk. So I walk. I literally was like out of Casablanca. Here, there's this big guy with a cigar behind the desk. Two guys behind me. I'm sitting down. He says, "Why are you in my country?" I said, "I'm going to a conference." Right? you're going to a conference. All of you going to a conference? Yes, I'm going to a conference. Here's your conference. We're going to meet 900 other people like us. They're on different planes. You 1,000 people are going to Egypt, right? I said, yeah, but this is the only plane that's stopping at Jordan, so you don't have to worry about it, right? So basically gave him the visa information and all of that stuff like that. But he said, but who are you? He said, who's your father? My father became Dr. Leonard Jeffries in a quick second.
Exactly.
Because he could understand that what he could understand was that my father was important, not my father in the projects.
Right.
My father that would assign me this task of taking 120 people, mostly older than me, to Africa, to Egypt. So put us back on a plane. Before we got put on a plane, what actually happened is that we had a layover in Jordan. We couldn't leave Jordan, right? We had to interface with people. They told us not to interface with people. I walk into the airport, out of the security doors, I see all the burqas. I see the Muslim world, right? For the first time, I see women with little slits, right?
The burqas,
and then I hear this noise at the door, right? And there's a bunch of black women, and they want to go shopping. In a god daggone foreign country. And they're saying they already navigated where they want to go with market. All they need to do is get out and get in the cab. So they're yelling and cursing at the soldiers because the soldiers come down and tell them. And then the worst thing could ever happen. You know what the worst thing could happen?
What was that?
When I came down, right, with the security, Jordanian, they talked to their people in Arabic, and then they said, this is the leader, and you should talk to them. And I talked to those sisters, and one of the Muslims said, one of the Jordanians said, tell your women this, that, the third. Why do we have to say that? Tell your women?
And then they went off.
They went the hell off.
No, hold on, Reggie. Were there any protocols on how to tell the sisters and the brothers on how to handle a foreign country like that? Because they don't play. Not in those foreign countries. No. Even Dr. Moses Powell spoke about that also when he wrote with Minister Farrakhan. They don't play in those places, man. They
arrest you. Yeah. Just for yelling at them.
Yes.
And we told them that, but that you can't keep people from shopping, right? They're in Jordan, right? They read all about it. They want to go to Jordan. We got a 7-hour layover. They're going to Jordan, right? They're not listening to some dude who's 120 pounds soaking wet, right? They're not listening to me, right? But they listened to me when those machine guns got pointed on them.
Pointed out at you. You're darn
now
right.
They knew that they was going to get arrested. And so I'm not saying anything about black women.
I understand.
It's just that it's just in a foreign country. So so then we did the ASCAT conference. So there's some things about me that you might want to know, right? Yes. Okay. Our personnel in our movement, or young women and men who give themselves to organizations, to houses, right? They are, how can I say, the first line of defense.
Exactly.
They risk everything.
That's right.
They risk their family, they risk their positions, they risk their family life, they risk their children, they risk their freedom. Shout out to young, at the time, Sekou Odinga, right? Who supported Assata Shakur, right? A shout out to Viola Plummer, who led at least 10,000 to 20,000 Black folks across the Brooklyn Bridge. Was you there?
Yes, I was. And a matter of fact, remember that people don't know who Viola Plummer was. She was one of the founding members of the December 12th movement. And it's a black human rights organization based in New York. So, and it was founded by Father Lucas, Viola Plummer, Elambre Brath, of course, remember him working with him, Coltrane. I forgot how to say his last name, but
Coltrane Sugarenga.
Right.
They had gotten arrested, right? So we know some things about the New York 8. Well, then there is the December 12th. And so they had got arrested with conspiracy. And they were able to beat their federal charges, right? And then they didn't run and hide. They went full force into the Black struggle, right? Yes, they went full force into Black struggle. And so these are the people that me and Brother King Simon, we were meeting along the way, right? Yeah. Under different protocols. Right, so his protocol was the Nation of Islam. Yes, my protocol was more, how can I say?
And some of us was told to dress down. So we used to dress down in suits, dress down in sweatsuits and just rule and mold in regular shirts and just go. But, you know, we had such a clean face and such a demeanor. You recognize us usually even through this.
With a smile. With a smile. You know, Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Back in the day, you know, and so funny. And if I showed you an old picture, man, it was sometimes I did not smile. But most of the smiling now, but I tell you, I wasn't a smiler for a certain, especially when you're doing security or bodyguard work. We had to be on point and all of that, especially with yeah, you know.
And we were getting, and believe it or not, you want to know this?
Yes. Sir.
Me and King Simon, right? Our organizations were against each other.
At one point, yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Right. We had a Cold War. I went to the Armory, right?
Right.
When he was the National Secretary, I'm talking about Dr. Khalid Muhammad,
right?
Right. But we were, how can I say, their intelligence knew who we were, right?
Know who I was, right?
Because we worked with Malcolm's legacy and Malcolm's family, right? We went when we finally went to the Madison Square Garden, right? We were triply, you know, when you go through the line,
triple search. You was searched. Y'all was searched.
We was searched. So I came in with Dr. Leonard Jeffries. He got the light touch.
Yeah.
Then Professor Small, he got the roughest touch.
Because there was a thing with Professor Smalls back in the day. Yes, that's why they gave him such a. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so security, Nation of Islam is a very complicated organization. One of the best that we have, right? They know who you are, right? You talk about like detectives and stuff like that. They know who you are, right? He walks in, he's trying to be casual. Things change, positions change.
Yep.
He goes through there, and then his people, that's me and the rest of us, we go through there, and I'm talking limb to limb. I'm talking shoes off, right? Everybody had the shoes off, but shoes off, and shout out to the Nation of Islam. You couldn't bring in a razor. Right?
To this day. Big up to Brother Charles. Big up to Brother Charles Mitchell up in the building. Big up Charles. What's up, Charles? I can't. I don't know how to pronounce his new name there, but big up to him, man.
But don't, you know, you gave his government name, so thanks for the algorithm. But yeah, that's one of our frontline soldiers, right?
Yes, he is. Right? Yeah, I gotta get you on, Brother Charles, if you're willing to talk, because you're a special.
He might talk too much, but that's one of our front line. And so when you see these young brothers at Harvard, right? He didn't go on a Harvard tour, but he might have went to the King College tour with Khalid, and he certainly went on other tours. And these were tours that, how can I say, you think you don't know if you're coming home. Small groups of people. And listen, in those days we wore body armor, right?
That's right.
We wore body armor. We wore and we did other type of things. We didn't wear body armor to Harvard, but we did wear body armor. The principal and the protectors, right? What's the point, right? So you're thinking young people with something in their mind, not to be offensive to the people that was. But to be defensive and offensive,
of course,
right? So, like Malcolm says, if you put your hand on us, we're gonna take you out, right? We're gonna take it off. And so don't think for a minute. So when you love Black people and you've been exposed to African people from the continent, when you went in the slave forts and dungeons and you swallowed the dirt, meaning in the slave forts and dungeons, you go in there and you don't walk around and you stop, you find a spot and you dig as far as you can with your hands or your stick, right? Right? Where your people pissed and shit and died, and you swallow that shit. You're forever an African.
That's right.
And so people like my brother Charles, and shout out to Runner, I'm not going to mention his name, but Runner, we had all of these names that we had, right? Some of them in the comic book, right? But we had these names that we called each other. So then a couple of other things happened. We during the same time, prior to Dr. Jeffrey's speech, the students took over City College of New York.
Yes.
So Latino students took it over, right?
Yes.
And I get a call. I'm going to not go into details, but I get a call, and the plan is now to take it over from the Dominican students, the Marxist Dominican students. So that's what we did. We went into the building and we took over the building from the Dominican students. And we lived on one side of the college and of NAC building, and they lived on the other side. And our job was to keep down the property damage, right? Not give them any cause. We stayed in that building for 4 weeks, which was the longest holding of a public building in United States history.
That's right. I remember y'all had chains on the door. Myself and the brother Elijah Shabazz, who was my manager when I was a reggae artist, we rolled over there. I think we carried some food. There was some food and water that had to bring to y'all and all of that. So we stayed, like I was in the nation with it, but we was dressed down and we was chilling and I was rolling with him. And but then there was another shutdown when they had the college hikes, the budget hikes and all that. We did that also. That was later, yeah. But that one we had I remember those.
But the first tour, we held the building for 4 weeks.
City College,
and then what they did was they shout out to my brothers, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about marching into a building and taking it from the Latinos. And then I went to Latinos were acting up. When I mean Latinos, it was just what it was, right?
Right.
They're acting up. They're doing things in the building. They're planning to do destruction in the building, right? Yes. They had already raided the security office. My people and their people are using City College security walkie-talkies to talk. I came in with a garbage bag. I said, "You're telling on yourselves, Negroes.
Right.
You're telling on yourselves. You're on the same line with the same equipment. So we're not going to talk on. We're not going to talk on that, right? We're not going to talk on stolen project. Do you understand that equates to charge?
Yes.
Anyway, a couple of nights in the late after 4 weeks, closing on the 4 weeks, we saw a higher police presence. We would be on a roof and we would see them watching us, police watching us on the roof. So I'm like, okay, so now we're sniper type targets. They're going to take this building, right? Right. So then they started doing runs around the building.
Training. Training. Yep. There was training.
And then one night they was doing runs. We got into my father's car, it was a Cadillac, and we followed them. And we followed them to Yankee Stadium. And they was training in Yankee Stadium to take back, because the other colleges started taking over buildings.
Yep. That's right.
So they took Bronx Community College. So then they raided Bronx Community College, like they stormtroopered it, right? Arrested the students. And that was just practice.
That was practice. That's right.
Now, with our people, I knew that the Latinos had guns, right? Open guns, right? Because I walked into a meeting and the Latinos put guns on the desk, and I'm like, that's supposed to scare us? We'll take it from you, right? That don't mean nothing to us. Matter of fact, that's just creating another divide, because now, but some of them actually were police officers. And so it was a whole big setup. So after the Bronx Community College thing, then what I did, I came back, I got all of our people outside of the building. The next morning, we did a drill. And then we locked the doors against us so we couldn't come back. And then we stayed out in the cars. And then after that, the Latinos saw that we weren't there, right? Those students. And they were by themselves. We were called traitors and sellouts. Yeah, I said, we alive, right? We alive, right? So those groups of people, cowards, right? They couldn't sustain it without us. There was no cause, because cause has changed now.
That's right.
Right? From whatever the cause was. The cause was really bodies.
Right.
And then you get the blood. And so then Professor Smalls came in and we negotiated to get back to college.
Right.
So now, now I'm working at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture at the New York Public Library. I'm meeting the who's who in Black struggle. I'm working with them, right?
Right.
I'm assisting them, Dr. James Turner and so many others that's coming in there, right? Actors is coming in there. So I'm working in that. So I'll show you another picture.
And family, those that are just tuning in, make sure you show some love to Brother Reggie through his Cash App and PayPal. This work is always continuing, but it's always, I tell people, circulate money, and the more you circulate, the more it come back. I remember Reverend Ike used to say, there can't be no power without can't be no black power without no green power. So don't play games.
Well, we've done the work. We've made it true. We did not betray. We did not betray. We fulfilled. We protected our leaders, even though sometimes we're against each other, right? We protected. We fulfilled. Me, my brother Chuck, that's on the line, right? We brought back our leaders alive.
That's right.
Right. So and we did not go to jail. We did not get arrested. We were guilty as charged if they caught us. Right. Because when Dr. Jeffries was under siege, I practically lived with him for 3 years. Most of the time I stayed with him on my tour, right? From the first, when he got off the airport from Ghana when they was attacking. Every newspaper, it was bananas. The airport was full with Kahani Kai and JDL. They was walking around with heads on a stick, chanting, right? Jewish blood is not cheap, right? That night, when the plane landed, his brother, who had just passed, arranged with his martial arts people, a van, picked him up at the tarmac, took him into the van, right? They shut down the JFK. I'm talking about the FBI and the New York Police Department shut down the highways all the way to his home, from Van Wyck to the George Washington Bridge, right? Like he was the president. Then they got him home, and I had taken a bus of support, right? Collateral, right? Right. Support, right? So we could do our work. So we're just not, how can I say, you know how it is, King Simon, right? We're amongst a group of people, but there's a group of people, right? So we took the community on 3 buses, right? Same buses that we used on Malcolm X, right? Those buses. We took those buses so that we could hide, so that we could protect.
Yes.
Dr. Jeffries never came out of the airport our way. He came out through a van. Fine. He's safe. We come back. I go to his house. His security leaves. And we stay for 3 years, all through the trial and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. We stayed through the trial. So, So let me just see what I have that I want to talk about with that. So I have a page, Africa Online TV.
What is it?
On Africa Online TV. And you can see some of the precious moments of Dr. Ben burying his wife, Dr. Ben at the hospital, some of Dr. Jeffrey's speeches.
Is that a .com? What is it?
No, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. So it's a YouTube, Africa Online, correct?
Africa Online TV. And I haven't put much on it because I don't really want to. I didn't put much on it, but I did put some things that are there. You can see Dr. Clarke's wife, Sister Sybil, people that you don't see. Dr. Ben at one of his wives' funeral, right?
You can see. Are you spelling Africa with a C or a K?
Africa, not the. It was a C.
Some people put K. You know, I'm just making sure.
Okay, so let me just tell you some of the things about my work, so I could close. So again, we're intellectual, we're academic, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're academic, we're intellectual, we're just not grunts, right? We are we're not like the Army grunts, right? We're intelligence officers. That's the best that I can say that we were. Small teams that do the job. We went to the Million Man March when Dr. Khalid Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan were in dispute.
They didn't allow Khalid on the stage. So I already know. Yeah.
Right. So one of them, so Runner and them, they went with Dr. Jeffries when at the Unity. That's when Malik Zulu Shabazz was
the night before, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So he was an organizer, Malik Zulu Shabazz. Shout out to him.
Yes.
And so part of the team went that way, and the other part of the team went another way. And because the main thing was part the Unity rally, right, to make sure Dr. Jeffries was safe, and then the next was the first Million Man March. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So now here's the problem. So the Million Man March, Dr. Jeffries is going to be on the stage, right? Fine. He has 2 escorts, me and Runner, right? You know how many lines of security it was, right? Going to the stage, right? From the plateau or whatever, right?
Right.
You know, from where the civilians were, right? We all had body armor. We had body armor, and everything else that we had disappeared along the way.
Exactly. The search was on.
So here we go. We hit the first line. They feel the body armor, right? Right. So Dr. Jeffries' body armor was not a problem. The problem was the other people's body armor, right? His people's body armor, right? And so could you imagine going through about 4 lines of different, every line that we went, a captain had to be called.
That's right. That's right.
A captain had to be called at every line to get us through. Now the last line was at the dais where all the leaders was. We couldn't pass. Dr. Jeffries could go on the dais and sit.
That's right. That's right.
We couldn't sit. We couldn't be with him. The nation says no. We got him. Right.
Yes. Right. And they all had body armor too. So go ahead.
Oh no, but they how can I say they had legal carries, right? they a special group. Shout out to the nation, right?
Especially that team, that immediate team around there is a whole different person.
They had listen, they were police themselves, right?
That's right.
Shout out to the nation, right? They had badges, right? Legal guns. So we're over here saying, well, no, that's our man. And they said, no, we got everybody on stage. No, you got the minister. That's who you got. You don't have everybody on stage. We have particular problems, right? Because of this thing that was going through with the JDL and stuff like that. Right?
Who resolved it?
It wasn't resolved. The captain just says, I hear you, bro. I hear you. Wait here. They don't come back.
Exactly.
You don't go. Shout out to the Nation of Islam. It wasn't resolved, right? And imagine
that was the resolve, Reggie. Period. Because they not arguing with you no more.
No, they ain't arguing.
After
that was by the time that we got there, we got, how can I say, we got the supreme team, right? Yeah. Right. We got the people that Minister Khalid Muhammad had trained, right? Yeah. We got the finest, right? We got the finest crew, right? And when they come,
everything moves,
right? And that's it. So that's where and check this out. there was no restroom over there that we could use or nothing like that. But we were prepared. We already knew what it was, right? Anyway, right? So fine. First Million Man March. That was that story. The problem, there's a lot of stuff in between, but let me just tell you that.
Yeah, let's get, because I'm not going to keep you too long. I want to end with something, but I want to make sure you finish.
All right, so let me just tell you me.
Go
All right, so generally, again, we're intellectual, we're academic. That's why you see me on YouTube and you see me debating. And I debated the Moorish Science Temple of America, right?
Yes. Right.
I was allowed to debate them.
Big up to Sharif. Big up to Sharif. Big up to the brother Sharif.
But I was allowed to debate them.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
The reason why, and you was there was more than 300 Moors from around the world. I mean, from around the country, right? Mm-hmm. It was a sea of red. They sat on one side and everybody else sat on the other side. You remember that?
Yes, that's right.
Right?
That's right. I remember in National Black Theater. Yes, sir.
And when Sharif spoke, they clapped.
Yes.
Right? When I spoke, there was
some of us clap, but everybody.
No, the community clap, but they ain't clap. Right? When I said when they say when I say Islam, they say Islam, right?
That's right.
When I say Black Power,
nobody said Black Power.
The pistol on cotton. It was so silent. I was like, y'all won't say Black Power? Black Power. They won't say Black Power. Who's calling me? 1 second. I know this was going to happen.
Family, if you're just tuning in, we got Brother Reggie in the building. I'm going to remove him to the background until he comes back. And it's important that y'all show some love to our brother because, our brother has some stories. And that's why I wanted to pull Reggie on, because Reggie is a historian of a great magnitude. He's on the phone. Let him do his thing. Of great magnitude. And please send some Cash App love to our brother or PayPal love to him. That's his contact, his email. You can use the email, but that's the Cash App. It's all about the stories that we tell. He was with Dr. Baird, Dr. Clarke. He's with Dr. Jeffries, Edward Scobie. He's with a lot of people, and he's been part of our movement. While I was in the nation or was in the Ansar community, this brother was there doing their thing. So I got to respect. I had to bring on the brother with most respect. And Reggie, before you go into it, what I really wanted to end with is because of the research, the depth of research y'all had to do, and compared to what's happening now. I wanted to end with that. So do what you got to do.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Go ahead.
So let's just start here. So remember, we're academic, right? We're academic. We didn't mean to be those type of we didn't mean to be involved in that per se, right? So I'll stop sharing my screen and share it again. All right, so who am I? I worked at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, the New York Public Library, for 5 years in a research center, right? I was sent there by Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. John Henry Clarke to work there, right? I worked in computer science there, particularly desktop publishing, right? I left there. I worked for a public defender office for 16 and a half years, right? I worked in law, right? I had a job, right? I worked in law. Me and my employer, my great employer, right? We had a disagreement, right? Well, we had a disagreement, and I ended up we had a spar in federal court and a spar in state court. I represented myself in federal court and in how could I say federal court and in state court. Pro se. I learned law. That allowed me to mix that with Black studies. That allowed me to mix that with Black studies. So now I'm engaged in civil rights stuff. So this was my case. Here, share screen. This was my case. And anybody that knows law knows what this means. So I was pro se. I was ultimately dismissed without prejudice in federal court, and I went to state court, right? But anybody that knows laws knows what this means right here. right? It means I'm the plaintiff. That's the defendants, right? But you see this right here?
Yes.
Cited by 133. Do you know what that means?
No. What does that mean?
That means that my case was cited 133 times in federal cases. Each federal case starts at $100,000, right? My case was cited by 133 plaintiffs and defendants, right? You see my name? You see it? You see those cases?
Yes.
So in federal law, I am how can I say unprecedented in federal law, right? On what you call a 12B6 motion to dismiss. Before it goes to trial or goes to discovery, the defendants have a chance to dismiss it, right? They have a chance to dismiss your case by failure to state a claim, right? It was first created with Ashcroft when an Arab sued Ashcroft, and they didn't even want to go to jury discovery, so they dismissed it by what you call a failure to state a claim. You didn't put enough claims in your complaint, right, to identify it. Well, I had in this particular matter, I got to be careful about what I say. A matter of fact, you can read the case law, but it was dismissed without prejudice, and I went to then the judge Castile declined to issue a supplemental judgment on my state claims. So ultimately, I got dismissed, and then I went to this is public record, so I'm hoping I went to state court, and then when I went to state court, I made an agreement with my great employers.
Right.
I made an agreement, so I know law, right?
Yes,
I worked on several civil rights cases, and I worked on helping several people, and I have where's this? I wrote a friend to the court on a case to the Supreme Court. I'll show you that. And so this is where research leads you, right? Because sometimes it's about your own lives. So we're right here. So I want to share this. This is what I want to share. So I'll show you the friends of the court case.
Okay, hold on one second. There you go. Okay.
So that goes right here. There it goes right there. Supreme Court of the United States. This was the petitioner. This is the respondents. And this was the document that I filed to the Supreme Court of the United States. And was received on this date, right? And what I was not a lawyer. And so the problem is they don't accept things without a lawyer.
Right.
But I had I read the law, I read the issue that I said no need to file a motion on behalf of a city, county, town, or similar entity when submitted by its authority law officer. The United States has never given a status in the United States court. There's never been a court case on our origins in the United States. There have been for the Native Americans, right? The Marshall Trilogy. We don't have status in the United States, right? So I knew that I wasn't a lawyer, but in this case, I was a law officer for this particular group that I was working with, right?
Right.
And so I submitted it on behalf of that. I thought I had precedent. They denied it. Something else happened. I don't want to talk about it. But the fact of the matter is that we don't have status in the United States. Now, so with this, the reason how I got there is because I had been writing on reparations. So in the Institute of the Black World, I wrote a paper, Reparations is Dead, How to Resurrect It. Most of the I testified in the New York City council hearings on reparations. I testified there. I testified with the person who was doing the federal Pelman Farmer who did the reparations case that we lost, right? And the reason why we lost is because she was making claims well, she was making, it was a lot of different things. She was making claims that banks owe us for the enslavement, that they participated in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the prongs was she had herself and others had to show that they were directly harmed, right? That's where research comes into, and you got to bring in your own family. So that's why they chose Rosa Parks, because she had an impeccable record, right? And that they actually did harm to her by making her sit in the back of the bus. She was purposely chose. We didn't choose Pelmet Farmer. She chose the case, and all the other reparations cases went underneath her, right? So when this got dismissed, all of our reparations cases got dismissed. It got dismissed because they said that it was the things that were argued was that it was time barred. They always argued that it's time barred, right? But they didn't argue. They didn't argue irreparable harm. They didn't argue economic the ability that America made money off of us, right? Engorgement, right? And it's still getting engorgement today, right? So they didn't argue that. The other thing that they didn't argue is that most of the Africans that came to the United States came during the illegal slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade ended in 1807, but from 1808 comes the illegal slave trade, where there are where a lot of Africans are being stored in Brazil and South America, right, and the Sea Islands and all that, right, Curacao. And they're bringing us as needed, right, into the United States during in the Gulf, going up the Missouri River, right? So the slave trade was still going on illegally, and so I wrote this paper because we may have lost during the legal slave trade, right? But states and cities, right, violated the Constitution. Not the Constitution, the act, right, of bringing in slaves, right? So states and cities violated that act, right? And so they're still culpable. They're also, murder has no statute of limitation, right? So those things were not argued. Reparations today, as they think about it, is dead, but we can resurrect it. The other work that I have done is, I do a lot of Nile Valley work. So I have a journal article that is published in the Journal of Pan-African Studies, right? I have citations to that, right, by other books, right, and my other work. So dealing with this is a citation of mine. In here is my name. This is an academic for University of South Africa. They cited my work. This is from in the Indian University. They cited my work on ancient Egypt, right? That's the article right there. My work, usually we're invisible, King Simon, but because of my work, I'm not invisible. So the New York Amsterdam News, if you ever search my name, Brother Reggie Mabry,
yes, I've seen it.
You will find a bunch of articles.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Right, of me, of my work. People asking me as to be a spokesman. So I've been so many funerals of so many people that I know. I've also been involved in the street signing of, the street resurrection of Dr. Ben, and also the Gods and Herbs, right?
And the Gods and Herbs, yes, right. That's right.
I worked on that, on the street signing. I've been notable on letting the community know about Dr. Ben's health, right? And I'm still called by the Amsterdam News to talk on particular subjects. So you find me on Sarnetta Studios, Black News 102.
Yes.
You find me there. Here I presented at this conference with some of our best scholars, African scholars, beyond West Africa, hosted by Dr. Jahi Issa and Dr. Salim Faraji. How can I say? And so I have, here's me on the editorial advisory board of the Schomburg Center. So we weren't grunts. we were trained as the Sons of Africa to be some of the best.
That's right.
But it comes with our lives. So we lose. I got a congressional citation by SBI, right? Shout out to Brother Nova for getting me that. But so let me just end with this.
Yes, sir.
Let me just end with this. I want to end with this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's time. King Simon, you're notable enough, right? We need to get everybody in the room online.
Yes.
And we need to talk about a plan. We've heard FBA.
Yes, we have. That's what I was thinking was going to go. Right.
We've heard Blueprint of Black Power, right? Amos Wilson's work, right? We've heard Powernomics, right? We've heard the Nation of Islam for many, many years, starting with the first Million Man March, right? My position is, and we've heard the Organization of Afro-American Unity, right? I'll stop this. I don't, and I'll just talk for to close out.
Yes.
We heard of the African American Unity that was written by Dr. John Henry Clarke for El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, right? When Dr. Clarke wrote it, and Malcolm died, there was not one Black mayor at that time, right? Paul Stokes became the first Black mayor in 1968, right? Roughly 68. So the idea was to have organizations like the NAACP, right?
Yeah.
But in particular, okay, once we got control over one city, then that became a whirlwind. So now we have all of these Black mayors of Black cities, right?
Right.
And that's not, and that's still not working, right? It's not working because we haven't studied the American Revolution. The American Revolution was founded by town halls, right? The people, and they brought in the government. We don't have body. We elect Negroes, and then we let them stay in, right? Because we elected them one time. We don't have a body to organize against them. So, but cities, the important thing is city law. Do you understand how powerful city and county law is? Do you know that today the whole White House has been brought to the knees, right, by a sister, right? A sister in a small county, right? A county, right? In Florida, right? Fonnie Willis, right? No, in Georgia, right?
Georgia.
In Georgia, Fonnie Willis, because they violated Black people's rights, a majority Black county, right? In a county in Georgia. We, the city and state rights have sometimes more rights than the federal government. That's why these people were making deals with Fonnie Willis, because federal law could not save them because they violated county law. If we understand the power of taking over city governments and counties, right? The federal law is the floor in which no law can fall below. I hope you understand that. But city and county laws is where all rights rise. So when you go to cities and counties that's majority white, they completely control everything in the city. They can even marry, have multiple wives, the Mormons, in their counties and their cities. You understand that the federal government has a problem with city and counties. City and counties are the basis of government, right? Of civilization. The CI in cities, it's the same CI in civilization. Is the same CI that is the basis of government, right? Civil, right? We need to strategize in our majority Black cities and counties, right? While we still have time, as these new immigrants coming in to take our food, right? And we're gonna elect them. And they're taking what we gave to America block by block by block. So what I'm saying is that there's a new strategy. I would like to talk, not debate with the great nation of Islam. But we need a plan. right? We just can't. I would like to talk with FBA, with ADOS. We need to see a plan, not playing around with the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party are not our friends. We need town halls that are, how can I say, that have nothing to do with parties, that have something to do with the people. To manage our elected officials, whether they're Democratic or Republican, it does not matter. They need to be managed. We are going to die. Do you know the beautiful Georgia and Florida, right? Now North Carolina. Do you know that it has the highest AIDS cases, HIV cases in the United States?
Yes, I heard. Yes.
These are rural people, right? With a little savvy now because they have cities, right? And counties and skyscrapers. Do you know that these are some of the biggest Black populations that's being targeted by a disease, right? Yeah. Because we can't manage ourselves, our families, and our communities, right? Mm-hmm. We can't talk to our young men and talk to our young women, right? And then not you and not me, right? But others, right? Or scared of Black youth. You were never scared the Black youth, right?
Of course not. I was a Black youth. No, of course not.
I don't care if they drug dealing. I don't care. There's a way in which to talk to them. You got to talk to them with respect.
With respect.
They're still going to do what they're going to do, right? Mm-hmm. But our cities and counties have to have an answer for some of those who don't want to listen, right? And it's called Black justice, because when this whole thing with takeoff and you can't go to a city and you got to check in. Listen, we need to get hold of ourselves. We need a better plan. So all of this little chit chat that's going on about FBA or ADOS, where's your plan? Put it down on paper so we can read it, understand it, and maybe follow it, right? And I bet you my Black City plan. You can put it in the URL. The Black City Plan. It basically lays out how cities and counties, majority Black cities and counties, we need to get a hold of. So, I don't want to.
On that note, brother, no, that was good, because that's the way I was going with that. So, brother, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on, brother. We did what we had to do.
And I'm a civilian now. I'm old, right? They call me Mr. now.
Exactly.
Right? Not you. You still looking good, King Simon.
I'm taking care of myself,
man.
You know
that one day a meal, whatever you was training for.
One meal a day, yes, sir.
You looking good. Brother Reggie looking a little shabby now.
All right. You can straight.
You can look like the barge and stuff like that, right?
You can say. I mean, hey, Reg. Look, Reg. I still got full head of hair, and I don't color my hair. You see that? I don't do no coloring. I'm not doing all of that. If it grow great, grow great. I get black, don't crack. But I'm honored, brother Reggie. This has been very beautiful to give what I had to get.
Honor those people that stand beside the leaders. Every leader needs followers. They need committed people with them. Yes. Sometimes you go for the charismatic leader, but you don't go for your daughters and your sons that put their lives on the line so that we can have a chance. And I get disrespected by people that don't know me. But one thing I do, I appreciate the Moors, because they were upset and angry at what I had to say, right? Yes. Because I'm dealing with the heart of what they believe, right? Yes. Their belief system. But they did not harm me. They let me talk. We can still agree to disagree. And guess what? And shout out to the Moors, because they're organized. If you are not in a house and you're not organized, or were in a house, right? Then you're a tumbleweed. You are useless. You're an individual. I don't care about you being an influencer on social media. You're not supporting our people's plan. To get out of this, we need a plan, because there's a plan against us. So with that said, thank you, King Simon, for not I'm not the most charismatic, put you to sleep, give you all hope. But I'm gonna give you something to fight for, right?
That's right. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom And looking forward to see y'all when I come back into New York around March or April, my brother. Definitely.
And shout out to Chuck and Runner and the mighty sons of Africa, whose names we don't even talk about, but these young men risked their lives and joined that movement on a very, very high level. And now we're old, right? But we're asking the rest of you, right?
Yes.
Are you going to fulfill, right? Are you going to come from obscurity? Right. Are you going to fulfill our people's movement? Or are you going to betray it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Brother Reggie. All right. Take care. One love, my brother. Take care, man. All the time. That's our brother Reggie. Man, what a good brother, man. Y'all don't know. And a historian, well-rounded, been so many protected, bodyguard, secured, been there. We done that in different arenas. You know, I was in the nation. He was in under the Sons of Africa with Dr. Ben, Dr. Clarke, Dr. Jeffries, Edward Scobie, a lot of our greats. And it's always good. And, big up to Professor Smalls, who I spoke with today, and Prince Imagine, my son, who they had a great time at Nicholas. Big up to Monique. Nicholas, I don't know what she talking about. I don't know who the hell Benson is, so she better calm down. Big up to Fele and all the people that's out there and everybody that was tuning in today, people from Canada and all over the place. Of course, Brother Chuck and everybody, Brother Mitchell from tuning in, everybody, Oracle Eyes from out of Toronto, Canada, and everybody that was there. Remember, Professor Smalls will be in Toronto, Canada. If y'all didn't get your tickets, Professor Smalls will be in Toronto, Canada. Please support him on my birthday, my born day. He will be in Toronto, Canada at the Boucan Restaurant at 774 Danforth Avenue in Toronto. That's right. I wish I could be out there, but as soon as I get everything right, I will be going back to Canada during the summertime. You know, I'm not going there during the winter life like I used to, live in and out of Canada. And do remember, this on the 27th, we have a tribute to Dr. Laila Africa, where we allow the audience and a few people that probably study directly under him to come on and speak on a call-in line, whether through the link through StreamYard or whether through the phone line. You're welcome to join us as we celebrate Dr. Laila Africa's Cosmic Born Day. And do remember, I have a double header on the 28th. On the 28th of January, at 1 p.m., we have hypnotherapy, sipping tea and talking hypnotherapy with the one, the only Kendall Cobb. She will be on with us also. And then that later on that evening, this beautiful sister just celebrated her born day yesterday. I gave her a call and we had a long, good conversation. Destiny Pendarvis at Egyptian Eyes Boutique, intuitive life coach and crystal advisor. She'll be on speaking about the power of inner growth. We will be speaking on that. And then, of course, in February 1st, like I said, Professor Smalls will be in Toronto, Canada. And for 2 days, we're doing a 2-day special in Atlanta, Georgia. You want to be here? I don't care where you live. The public event will more likely be streamed live online, but the private event, the no holds bar, the second day, only 33 people will be allowed in this venue because that's all it holds, about 33 people from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. But the public one will probably be from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And that's going to be in Atlanta. The other one will be at a private location. If you want to find out more information, look out on my link tree. February 1st, the tickets go on sale on my born day. February 1st, the tickets will go on sale. And if you want to go to a retreat on Jamaica, for those that are into the mental health, you might be a therapist, whatever you might be, a professional, a therapist, or a healer. You want to go to Jamaica for a few days and relax and tone down, do some yoga, do some meditation, do some water works. This sister Nia Love, one of Dr. Africa's students, will be doing this, and one of Queen Afua's students will be doing this. She lives in Jamaica now from April the 20th through the Wednesday, the 24th of April. So make sure y'all go out there to JA. She's doing that big retreat in Jamaica. I think she's here in America, but she's also doing a retreat in Jamaica. And of course, make sure y'all go to the website, lailaafrica.com, to support Dr. Africa and his legacy. family. Of course, her beautiful wife, Dr. Melanie, just celebrated her born day. She's doing a holistic nutritional counseling course. If you want to be a nutritional counselor, you learn how to do the urine test and all that, even in person or online. She can do that. She got it all going on, 3 parts. Make sure you go to LailaAfrica.com as the legacy of Dr. Africa continues. And do remember, if you want to learn how to do applied numerovation, please go send that circulatory frequency of $55 through PayPal or Cash App, and I will email it to you. I will email the link to the webinar that we did. It's already taped. It looks good. We're keeping it moving. And make sure y'all support CarrieAnnIngram.com and Linktree/Carrie Ann. And make sure, family, support the sisters. We'll be back on with the Healing Vibes on Wednesday of February, that first Wednesday of February. We'll be back on with the Healing Vibe. But right now, we're just taking a little sabbatical while she handles her business and while I'm handling my business and while we're dealing with our critical cycle that we're dealing with right now before our born day. And big up to Lloyd Strayhorn. That's Lloyd-Strayhorn.com. Hit him up. 800-581-4401. And remember, my audiobook is coming out for the spring tour. My audiobooks are coming out for the spring. Look out for that through my Linktree. And of course, if you want to get any of my books right now, my first 4 starters, that's on Amazon.com, or go to Linktree/King Simon Numerator. If you want to book a session with me, please text me your full name and date of birth. 347-496-1022. Remember, the circulatory rate is going up on my birthday, so make sure you get it booked now. So by the time my birthday come in, it is what it is. I'm letting you know that right now. Remember, accept what is, let go of what was, have faith in what will be. Like Dr. B. Sirius says, I forgive myself, my family, and others for imperfection, and I'm thankful for my life. And like Dr. Blair used to say, please, universal creator, know in my heart that I love you. Please protect me and this planet on which I live now. Please open my mind, my spirit, and my soul to receive only truth in your love now. Family, I hope you enjoyed what we did today. I hope you enjoyed Brother Reggie and what he did. Once again, let's give Brother Reggie a well-deserved round of applause. Please support him. Please support him. And don't forget, he has a YouTube channel. It's called youtube.com/Africa Online TV. He also has that on. And thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in and locking in with your brother as we shared some history of Brother Reggie and what he did in all his life. And big up to Brother Trevor Douglas, one of my old friends. Fele, what's up? Big up to y'all. Big up to everybody that came on through Facebook and also YouTube, and it came on all of the platforms. We had it on Twitter also, and people that came on through my Facebook, King Simon public page, King Simon Productions, and King Simon, my friendship page. And of course, on the Twitter, we got it. And Instagram, big up to Instagram all the time. Thank y'all, Instagram, for supporting. Big up to all the Instagram family. How y'all doing, Instagram? I hope y'all are doing well. We're broadcasting on that. And tomorrow, more than likely in the morning, I will teach something, break down something, because my sessions don't start until 12 o'clock tomorrow. So more likely in the morning, I'm thinking about breaking down the word algorithms and why we need to pay attention to algorithms from a numerovational perspective. And I want to break down the words joy and sacrifice, because Brother Nuri Muhammad, who I'll be having on, and Brother Wesley Muhammad, who I'll be having on in the next couple of weeks. Brother Nuri did a lecture today, I believe in Indianapolis, and he spoke on the joy of sacrifice. So I want to break down the words joy, sacrifice, and also paying attention to the algorithms and what Country Wayne said on Shay Shay Club Shay Shay the other day about the algorithms being a female. And from a mathematical numerovational perspective, he's absolutely right. It is a feminine number that it adds up to. So I'm glad he brought, and that triggered me, of course, to get into the words. And that, although it was created by a Moorish or a Muslim brother, I think the name is algorithm. I'm gonna look into the history and show you that it came out of the ancient Arabic perspective of mathematics. So we're going to talk about that. If I don't do that tomorrow, I'll do it sometime in the week, but I'm definitely going to focus on joy and sacrifice. I think that's important because there is a joy of sacrifice that we have to make to become our greatest self. And the word joy and the word sacrifice have a vibratory energy that if you use it correctly, if you use that vibratory correct, not just the meaning of joy and the meaning of sacrifice, but how it is also connected to the interpretations through numbers and how I do numerovation, because I'm here to motivate you. I'm not here to just read nobody. I'm here to consult you and here to advise you, to show you the joy of sacrifice, like Brother Nuri taught, because I'm in his community and he sends those texts every weekend after he does a lecture. So big up to Brother Nuri Muhammad and all the brothers and sisters of the Nation of Islam. Big up to all the people, brothers and sisters from Sons of Africa, those that have done work with Dr. Jeffries and everybody else, and those from ASCAC and all that kind of stuff. And all, of course, the late, great Viola Palmer from the December 12th movement, Sekou Ndinga, who just passed, who was one of those people from the Black Liberation movement back in the day that helped saved and extracted Assata Shakur. He just transitioned also. So on that note, family, have a great day, afternoon, or evening. Be safe, be great, be focused, and be your numerovational self. This has been your host, King Simon. Take care, and we'll talk soon. And do remember, I got all those great people coming up, and the tribute to Dr. Africa is coming up on the 27th on his born day. So make sure y'all tune in and call in if y'all have to. We're going to have to call in. We're going to have the video. So y'all can call in or show your face on the video. Just make sure the camera is clear and everything is clear. All right? Take care, people. Stay strong, and I'll talk to y'all mañana. Take care.
Content disclaimer. The views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed.
Eye to eye, heart to heart, each one teach one, us. This is Professor Imhotep, the Island Monk, here at Warrior Kiddo Jiu-Jitsu, Way of the Warrior Spirit. So we're here to go over the rules and try to make that as swift as possible for you guys. So the rules essentially are very few. Number one is to follow us on TikTok at the Island Monk, or if you have Instagram, you can follow us at Warrior Temple, Island University. Or if you really love us and want to show us support, you can follow us at both. You're going to find the Kata Shodachi, and you're either going to duet us on TikTok or collab with us on Instagram and win 10 tickets for every additional video you do beyond that. So as we say with all the warriors, eye to eye, heart to heart, each one teach one, us.
Hey, this is King Simon, the International Numerovator. Remember, get all my books on Amazon or go to Linktree/King Simon the Numerovator. And remember, don't forget to book my sessions at 347-496-1022. Book now. Hey, this is King Simon. Remember, make sure you go to my website, KingSimonProductions.wordpress.com. That's KingSimonProductions.wordpress.com, or Linktree at King Simon the Numerovator. Get all 4 of my books, and of course, that's the Numerovation for Mental Stability. Numbers are simple, people are complicated. Numbers are simple, children's health is important, and no promotion is bad promotion. Just spell my name right. Make sure you get them now on all my links. That's KingSimonProductions.wordpress.com. Go now.
Some people think that this esoteric knowledge is for the rich and powerful, when in actuality, the so-called 85% has a spark in them that if it is sparked through numerology, astrology, motivation, whatever, it will raise them up from an 85%, maybe to a 10%, and eventually they become the 5%, the poor or prosperous righteous teachers. You gotta understand that this knowledge is not just for one class of people. We gotta get out of the class